Hello and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. If you're new here, I'm Melissa. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. Doing so really helps me put more mental health information out there for our communities of color and tons of free Lcsw test prep. And I have a Lcsw test prep program available for purchase called Social Work Study with Melissa, available down below in the description box. If you're new here, I am a therapist, Lcsw, clinical supervisor, and PhD psychology research student. So let's go ahead and get into the content of the video. Alright, so there was a part one. I really hope that you watch it. I think that it's really important to kind of understand the context of what we're going to be talking about in the part two, because part two is really going to be talking more about CRT as it relates to the LCSW exam. And so definitely take a look at the first part. You can pause here and kind of read through this if this is helpful for you, but I do actually have commentary besides what is just written here in the part one of this video, so please definitely go there. I will link the link of that video down below. So we kind of ended in the last video looking at why CRT is pertinent in social work. So we talked about how diversity, human development, and the environment is 25% of the LCSW exam, and theories of racial, ethnic, and cultural development throughout the lifespan are to be explored and to be studied to prepare for the exam. So along with that, justice and oppression and social environments, again, as that was spoken about in the last video, we ended on how we as social workers have the duty to address these sorts of concerns. So I want to take a look at some of these sorts of things that are underneath this topic. And so you're going to want to go to this website here to learn more about what I'm talking about under diversity, social, economic justice, and oppression right here and everything below, because that's where I got this information. So you will be tested on your knowledge on some psychological and sociological theories and interventions, and you are expected to have a strong background on diversity issues. So some of those topics included in the exam include, feminist theory, the effect of disability on biopsychosocial functioning, culture, race, ethnicity, and behaviors, attitudes, and identity. And we kind of see, there's a lot of things that overlap here as it pertains to CRT. So then we also have here systemic discrimination as it relates to sexism, ageism, but particularly racism, as that's what we're focusing on today. And then, of course, you're going to want to know your social work practice, the impact of environment. So again, social structures, system structures, the environment, social and economic justice, criminal justice systems. So what we're seeing here are all of these systems that affect an individual or a group of people that may have been marginalized or oppressed. So that is how social work pertains to CRT, or CRT pertains to social work. So let's go ahead and look at the vignette question. A social worker is referred a client presenting with symptoms of depression, including anger, sadness after being fired from a job. The client tells the social worker that he was fired due to racism/discrimination, explaining that he was the only person of color and was taunted by colleagues because he looked different, quote unquote. What is the best response from the social worker? Pause here, answer this so you can test where you're at, and then compare it to my answer at the end. So best, if you haven't taken a look at my video on best, most, first questions, make sure to go back to my channel and take a look at that, because it goes into detail about what this means. So we're looking at the best option. Maybe all of these may be options later down the road, but we want to know what the best one is pertaining to what the exam really wants us to choose. So Let's take a look. Let's actually start from option D up. Option D, connect the client to a support group and employment services. So this may be something that you do later on, perhaps. However, it's not the best answer because there are other things going on here. So we want to take a look at some of the other things that are more pertinent at this point. Contact the client's work to speak with HR regarding the complaint and ask the client if you reach out to the higher ups. So we would not be contacting anybody without a release of information and the permission of the client. And we may ask if he reached out to the higher ups, but that kind of seems like we would be skipping normalizing where he's at now, suffering from some of like the discrimination. So we don't want to do that first. That wouldn't be the best response at this point. Validate feelings of depression, grief, and ask the client what he did wrong at work to cause conflict in the workplace environment. So clearly, he has told us that he has been verbally harassed. They said that he looked different. He was fired for being the only person of color, among maybe other things. So to ask what he did wrong, and insinuate that that caused conflict is very minimizing and really devalues what happened and his experience. So we definitely don't want to do that, and that's nowhere near close to the best answer. Which leaves us with option A, via the process of elimination. Provide psychoeducation on racial trauma, validate feelings of sadness, anger, and refer to legal assistance for workplace discrimination. This is going to be the best response from the social worker. What he's telling us is that he's having some depressive symptoms that include anger and sadness that seem to be particularly a result of losing his job, which included him being racially discriminated against. So there's an aspect of a traumatic experience there that's purely racial, and we want to validate the feelings that happens that come about from something traumatic happening, and refer to legal assistance for workplace discrimination, because under CRT, if we're looking at CRT, the core principles of that, we see that this major system, so the employment that he had, or this agency that he worked for, was discriminating him, and that cannot fly, and so that needs to be referred to somebody that is within the scope of practice that can look into workplace discrimination. All right, thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you did in the comment section below, and was it a easier question, a more challenging question? Let me know. Until next time, managing mental health matters.